is what it is, okay? I said empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
Welcome to the 45th episode of the Deployment Dojo. This is a live show where we introduce and discuss software installation topics using the WiX Toolset. I'm your host, Rob Mensching, and joining me today is my very good friend and still first student in deployment, David Edson. How are you doing, my friend?
Pretty good, thanks.
All right. We're going to pick up where we left off, because if you remember correctly, we left off with nothing working. Or like without doing any of the things, without using any of the things that we did. Remember that?
Yes.
Yes. All right. So we're going to pick up on more work on BindPaths and different ways of using them. And in this case, we're doing everything from the command line. And now we need to start doing it from MSBuild, because our build process uses MSBuild, right? And because we didn't hook it all to MSBuild, well, things weren't working. So let's go ahead and take care of that next. Let's jump into it.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to start at the command line again, because I want to pick up where we left off a little bit. I'll open code here. Probably should have done that already, and make it nice and big for you guys so you can see it well. All right. And if you remember, we were having problems with WiX extension add. Remember, I was trying to get the WiX extensions to be available.
Right.
Because I was cheating here with this big long command line and like reaching deep into the NuGet cache. And I was like, I shouldn't have to do that. So I actually was debugging this, trying to figure out what was going on. And the command is WiX extension add WiX Toolset UI.WiX extension. I basically want to say, hey, bring this extension down into my workspace because I'm going to use it. And last time it wasn't working, right? We have nothing here. Oh, Rob, before you get ahead of yourself, build.command, episode 45. Let's do the right things here. Oops, missed. Let's commit that file. And this is start episode 45. Grab this. BindPaths in MSBuild. Right. That's our diff 45. We're good to go. Oh, gotta start a branch too. How do I create a branch in here? Try and do everything in here today. Fetch, checkout, clone, branch. Rebase, create branch. Ah, perfect. Episode 45. Whew, that was close. I almost checked out or committed to main again. I have a habit of doing that. All right, cool. We're all set up with our build command. We're set up for build 45. All right, you can see we have our files here and all this other kind of stuff. There's nothing special. So when I want to run WiX extension add WiX Toolset UI.WiX extension, I want to add this to my workspace. And it wasn't working when we did this before.
Right.
Bert, Martin, you guys are here again. It's great to see you. You guys remember? I was like spending, I don't know how long. Okay, so I debugged into this, and honestly, everything started working. So all I could figure is that there is some problem with like the NuGet servers when I was making the requests. And so the bug is in the WiX extension add command to not give me an error message when that was happening. That's all I could figure that is happening right now. All right. We also need the WiX NetEffects extension. NetEffects extension. If you remember, we had two extensions we were using for our build. There's that. And now I want to grab this command line here. Actually, I saved another one of it here as I was experimenting. Yeah, this one. Let's bring this one up. Put this in a blank file and we're wrapped. Okay. So the thing I want to point out here now is that in the last command here we did extension, and then we gave a whole path all the way, this whole path down into the NuGet thing. And people are like, oh, that must be what you have to do. You have to directly reference the extension DLL by putting it. You can do that, but that's not the intent. It's supposed to be much easier. You're supposed to be able to just say, hey, give me this extension, WiX Toolset UI.wix extension, and it should just find it for you the same way that WiX extension add did. All right.
Right.
So, all right. So then we do WiX Toolset build. All right. So this is our command before, but notice we do not have the full paths to our extensions. We're going to build to this XXX directory with our b.msi. I'm going to do a quick build here. I don't remember if this is the final command we needed for everything to build. Hey, look at that. Everything out. And so when we look at the XXX directory, there is the b.msi. Cool?
Cool.
Cool. All right. This is where we were supposed to, this is how long it was supposed to take, like 5 minutes last time when we ended up spending, I don't know, 10 on this. All right. All right. So I have fixed whatever problem. Well, no, I take it back. I've shown how it was supposed to work the last time, David.
Right.
And shown that, yes, it does work. It should be no more complex than that. Let's carry on, because all I've done here is use the command line again, and we need to, or the WiX exe command. We need to get this in MSBuild. All right, so this -b switch, how do you get that in MSBuild? You know, we don't say MSBuild -b, because that would be the -b command to the MSBuild, which may or may not mean anything. In fact, I don't think it means anything. Yeah, -b is not a thing to MSBuild, right? There's a way of representing in the WiX project how we want to have BindPaths. Okay, so let's look at our WiX project. Built test.wix project. And I'm doing VS Code right now. We're going to go into Visual Studio here in a second. For whatever reason, I decided we're going to do this from the bottom up. We're referencing our building our way up. And so, yeah, we'll get we're working at the very low level so you can see how it works underneath. And then we'll come to Visual Studio and we'll see how we can do it from the top down with all the nice UI and things like that, right?
All right. Yep.
Sometimes I start from the bottom. Sometimes we start from the top. This time we're starting from the bottom. Okay, so here's our WiX project. This is good. And I want to see the package. If you remember our legal stuff, this is the file that we're after, right? And I want to remove this hard-coded ... /legal/legal. I mean, you can do this, but imagine having lots. I want to be able to just have this found by a bind path, right? This is where we were trying to get to, but I had to put that ... because we're going to now do a build from MSBuild, which will build, because I'm in the directory with build test package. So that will build this project right here. I don't know why you're not picking up as XML. All right, there we go. It'll build this project, do all these things, and we expect it to, again, have problems finding sponsors.txt, right? Because that's where it failed before. MSBuild, please. Do the thing, doing a build, go through, and boom, we failed. And it said, hey, error, cannot find the file sponsors.txt. The following paths were checked. Sponsors.txt we expect. Hey, wait, look, it automatically checked into wixlib, classlib, bin debug, console app 1, Windows Forms, apps 1, build test service 1, all those things. But we didn't tell it to do that, did we, David?
Right.
Yeah, so why is it doing that? How's that happening? All right, that's what we're going to explain today. All right.
Okay.
The two things. Okay, so first, let's get our sponsors.txt solved here, okay?
All right.
The way you do that, and I didn't look this up before, so as I said, these are live videos, live episodes. So if I get the name of the thing wrong, then we have to go look it up. What is that completion Visual Studio Code? That's not at all what I typed. Okay, here we go. All right. We can have multiple bind paths, right? We saw that in our command here. We have all these -b's, right? 1, 2, 3. We needed like 4 of them, right?
Right.
All right. So in that, when you have a set of things, you can create items in MSBuild. All right. And it turns out you could create an item called a bind path. All right. And WiX will pick it up. Now, this is my memory. I'm pretty sure it's called bind path. And then you say include. This is MSBuild syntax to say, hey, I want to include this MSBuild, this bind path, and then you just provide the path you want in here, which in our case is ... whack legal. right? Makes sense? Okay.
Oh.
Did I lose anything? All good?
Yep.
Yep. All right. All right. That might be it. If I got the name of the item right, what we just told MSBuild is, hey, I'm adding this BindPath thing that then runs up into the WiX Toolset SDK. It's really MSBuild feeding all this information into the MSBuild SDK, and then it's going to give us and hopefully put the right, give us the right variables. So let's see if I got the name right. Ready?
Ready.
When it's all validation, we're off to the races.
Yep.
And we're done. Hope you guys had a wonderful time. This has been episode 45. We're gonna dig into it a little bit more because we have a couple of mysteries to go sort out here in a minute. Oh, look, this is a neat message here. We have multiple versions of the same SDK, 4.0 and 4.01. So we have a WiX project out there that we're using both 4.01. Let me go back and that'd be our class library, won't it, David?
Right.
Look, it's still using 4.0. All right, we're going to fix that one. So that's now 4.01. Okay, so yay, everything works. I'm going to do a clear screen. I'm going to do another build. And we're going to see that everything's going through again. Okay, so what we found was that all we had to do was add this BindPath. If I look at the diff on this file, there it is. That's the diff that we had to add to MSBuild. We gave it one BindPath and we were done. But actually we needed BindPaths for all the other input files, right?
Right.
Where are those coming from? Do you want to take a guess where they're coming from?
I'm not sure.
The
I don't have a good guess.
References in WiX are giving them to you by default.
Okay.
WiX is saying, hey, you have a project reference to this class library WiX project and to this console app 1 and to this Windows Form app and this. We're going to say, hey, you probably want to use the files from the output of that project. So why don't we add those as BindPaths for you automatically?
The directories they're in are automatically included?
The
WiX
directories where they build to. It's not even just the directories they're in, it's the directories where they build to. All right, so let's take a look at this. All right, so this is console app 1, so it's up a directory to ours, and there's console app 1.
Mm-hmm.
And if we look in here, hey, look, there's our program.cs, there's our console app, there's that app config thing, and then look, there's these two build directories, right? And inside bin, inside debug, there's our actual exe.
Okay.
So if it was to give us the project reference just to console app 1, and we said, hey, please give us console app 1.exe, it wouldn't give us anything, right? When we look at our source code and we look at our files for console app, all we said was, hey, give me console1 app.exe. So WiX underneath has hooked us up with the bin and the debug directory. How can we see it? Remember what MSBuild does in the end? A lot of orchestration.
It makes the big,
does everything for us. But if we look at the bin log file, which is my favorite thing to do, and I like using the, so you could do msbuild-bl, it'll give you a bin log, and then you get this tool called the bin log viewer, which pops up on the wrong screen every time. And then I zoom in on it, it's nice and big so you guys can see it. So this is a binary log, the bin log, you cannot open a notepad or anything like that, but you can open it up in this tool. It's a very helpful tool. And so what are we looking for? Well, I'm gonna search for wix.exe and it should find, maybe it's just WiX. Here I was thinking it's gonna tell me the exact tool. I thought it was WiX. Is that not what it shows? It's stuck behind my camera here. I have to bend my head to see around it. All right, let's go digging down here. Here's all of the steps it does for us. All the way down, and I'm looking for the core compile step. We have our inputs and our outputs, and oh, it's skipped. That's why this log file is not a good log file, because it didn't build anything.
Oh, okay.
Because we had everything we needed already. All right, I'm gonna clean my build directories. We're gonna do another build, and we'll look at that log file. Oh, whoops. And this is MSBuild, and I cleaned everything, so I have to do a restore. Remember, when I clean out those bin and OBJ folders, that cleans out all the NuGet stuff that gets downloaded for us automatically to hook up our SDK. That's why I have to do that msbuild-restore to kick all that off. All right, there. Now we had a full build. It actually did something this time. So my log file should be slightly more interesting than the last one, where the last one, as we saw, basically said, hey, I didn't have any work to do. Now if I search for wix.exe, yay, we have the command line being set up. And that is a very large command line, as we have seen in the past.
Right.
All right. So we haven't looked at this in a while, but it does a lot of -ds for us, which is that same thing we do with our version file, right? A whole bunch. It gives us a bunch of variables based off all those other projects. And I want to find the -b. Will it do a search in here? Oh, look at that. This tool always impresses me. It's using the full syntax. -b is the short name for the switch. The full name for the switch is BindPath.
Oh, cool.
And there's BindPath. That, remember, this is the one that we typed in ourselves. BindPath, d:, yada, yada, yada. Then we have BindPath for d:, Dojo source, belt test class 1, class library win, bin debug. Okay, I'm gonna skip over a couple of these. Here's another BindPath, d:, source, belt test console app 1, bin debug. All right, so it added all of these.
Right.
All right, so look, hey, so we can see by dropping down here, we can see the command of the wix.exe it ran, and then the BindPaths that it passed down, plus all the other things that are in here. In here also are extensions, the -ext. I'm gonna do search again. There's the ext switch.
Yep.
Right? And notice that the way that the MSBuild gets resolved, it just says, hey, you know, I'm just gonna give you the full path to the DLL, because that way it doesn't have to do the whole Wix extension add command to bring them. It's just like, I knew where I download this to NuGet for you. I'll just reference it directly. So these are all things that this WiX Toolset .sdk, we're gonna come back here. No, I want belt test package. All of that is because we've pulled in the WiX Toolset.sdk. It's doing all the work to take these bits and pieces of our MSBuild information and turn it into, honestly, the end result is this big long command line to Wix.
All right.
All right. And so we saw how easy it was to add BindPaths. So the thing I want to call out here real quick is that notice the first BindPath here is ours. Our BindPaths get added before the project references. And
which is good.
Exactly. And that's not just because I happen to order them this way. This would give us the same result. There's no ordering in here per se. I could put most of this stuff. Yeah, I could order all of this stuff in whatever order I wanted in this file. Does not matter. I just happen to like to organize my stuff. Actually, I prefer to do it. If I was to do it, I would do it this way. This is the way I tend to order my projects. So if I write them by hand, do all this stuff up here. This is your properties, any content I have to include, my BindPaths, then any project reference I have, and then any package references to NuGet that I want here. That's just kind of the way I like to organize them. But as you saw, the order does not matter. It's whatever you want to make it is your own. And I'm going to go put all that back so that our diff is small, because I don't need to have a big diff for this particular change.
Right.
Okay. All right. And as you said, it was important that this was always done first, no matter what order it's in here, because, David?
Because it searches that first, and if it finds it, it's done. So you want it to...
That's right. It does do the BindPaths in order. And actually, the order of BindPaths does matter. It will do these in order. So if I do legal 2 here, it would search in that folder second.
Yep.
Okay. All right. All right.
Yep.
Mass success. This is all great and all very, very simple in the end, once you know that it's there. And the end result is that you get a nice, clean code in here so that you can spread all your files around. Okay?
Right.
All right. Good. Okay. Now, I haven't contrived a story for this, but you know what? Let's go ahead and look at the changes we made and get a few things committed here real quick while I think for a second. All right. So we don't care about this X directory. In fact, let's go ahead and delete that X directory because it's just going to get in the way. Right. That was just to prove that, hey, look, it really did do the right thing. All right, cool. So here's our class library 1. Let's go ahead and put that up. Yes. All right. And this is update class 1 wixlib to wix v4.0.1. We should have done that a long time ago, honestly.
Yep.
All right. These are left over from, these are the binary files that happen to come down as part of our Wix extension add. That, by the way, they get added into this .wix folder. That's where the files get stored, and the Wix, when you run from the command line wix.exe, doing the -ext will pull them out of that folder, and it knows how to find them in there automatically. So remove that. I was wondering why we had so many files showing up here. It's because we had a bunch of extra things. Okay, and now I think these are the two changes. That UI jumped underneath me. All right, here's our first change. We're going to add the bind path, and by adding the bind path, we can remove it from this file source here, okay? And you're kind of like, yeah, whatever. It's the same difference between this and this, which is kind of true. It just gets more interesting when you have more and more files coming from things, that this can be a nice way of handling that.
Right.
Makes sense? Yeah. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and say, use bind path to find sponsors.text. Okay? Okay. Boom. Done. Ta-da! We have accomplished the main thing I wanted to do today. Let's go ahead and bring this now up in Visual Studio.
Okay.
Because I want to show you that you don't have to edit the XML file. Although Visual Studio has made editing the XML file much easier now. But it's because you can now just double click while we wait for Visual Studio to finish opening. Here we go. It's now very easy to just double click on your package, and look, there's the code we just added to our bind path world. But Heatwave also will explode. Oh, hey, look, another update to Visual Studio. I just upgraded Visual Studio, and there's another update. All right, I'll get that later. All right, so you could also go to Properties inside Heatwave, the Visual Studio extension, and then you can go to Paths here, and you can see down here we have a bind path section. And look, it's already populated for us, and it tells us where we got it from, the project file on line 16. And we can go ahead and add new ones here. Let's say we wanted to add another one. There we go. And we'll add that one. Let's see if it did the right thing. Okay, and hopefully if we open it, there it is, the bind paths, foo, and legal. Okay, so you can also go and edit inside here, and you can see them. That's strange behavior right there. Let's move down, thank you. And then you can also reorder them as you put them in here to make sure that they end up in the order that you want them. So now if I save this, it should, yeah, see now it's legal and food. When I added it, put food first. Now when I added it, I can reorder them and control all that in there.
Right.
Okay, so there you go. Now you can use Heatwave also if you don't want to remember bind path element and all those other kinds of things. You don't have to. You just go here, properties, and go into your paths, and poof, you're good to go and use all these things. So bind paths right here. Listen it. Cool?
Cool.
Okay. On to the next topic that we're just going to touch on a little bit today. Okay, so second issue for today. I want to introduce this because I don't have it fully motivated, but I want you to know you can name your bind paths. What does that mean? Well, I didn't want to double click that. Let's say I want to change this to legal. By the way, this is Visual Studio not rendering these things because I blow up the Visual Studio font. All kinds of things don't quite show up quite right. All right, so what I'm going to say is I want to give this bind path a specific name. I didn't hit save. I keep double clicking in it. It keeps taking me to the line, which is actually really nice. I would like it to. Why is it not saving? Ooh, that might be a bug. Pick legal, thank you. Oh, I don't know, that was weird. All right, I have to look at that. Okay, it's there. So I said, hey, please give this bind path a name. So let's go look at what that looks like in the XML. Close. All but this. We're going to need this one in a minute. And if I go here and open the project, you can see it said, hey, bind path now has a bind name called legal. All right. You're like,
okay.
All right. How? Yeah, Dave was like, okay, why would you want to do this? Well, let's go ahead and do a build real quick. All right. So we're going to kick off this build, and we have changed the name of this legal path to name it. And now it says it cannot find sponsors.txt anymore. That's because we're now expecting to find a named bind path instead of an unnamed bind path. Now, this is a really advanced scenario where you could get into where you want to have multiple paths. You want to control which bind path you're sending. Let me show you the syntax real quick, because I gotta get that out of my head first. Okay. Then you basically say bind path dot, what do we call it? Legal?
Legal, yeah.
Okay. So there. What this does is say, hey, I want you to use the bind path called legal, and when you do this build, and make sure I got the syntax right.
So specifying bind path makes you specify the bind path when you're doing the file source?
What it does is, that's actually a very good question. So by specifying bind path, it says I'm going to get the path to this off of the bind paths, but only the ones that are called legal. Only the ones named legal.
Okay.
All right. Oh, I know how we can motivate this. So what this does is, this is essentially taken legal and removed, or taken this bind path legal, and named it legal. I can name it whatever. I just happen to call it legal, so that things will only be found inside this folder if they're called sponsors.txt. Okay, why is this interesting? What if we had a file called notepad, what is it, legal, and we called it console app1.exe. Yes, I'm going to create a new file. This is console app1.exe. That happens to be the name of a file in our product, right?
Right.
Okay. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to undo these changes. So, by the way, you can also do the syntax, the unnamed. This is the same as. Please, not that one. Thank you. Comment it out. Okay, so we're going back to bind path legal. And I'm going to say, hey, please find this on the bind path. This is the same as not specifying anything.
Okay. That's like a default or something.
Yeah, it's kind of like because we don't want you to have to specify this over time, because it's the most logical default. Just find me this file in all the unnamed bind paths.
Right.
If you don't give it a fully qualified path, we'll be like, fine, we'll go look for it in bind paths. But we'll leave that syntax there. All right. Now, I also want to point out that our console app 1 is doing the same thing. It's looking for things on bind path, right?
Right.
All right, let's do a build. Everything's going to work, right? Oh, cannot find bind path. Maybe I was wrong. That's interesting. Maybe I just lied, and the bind path does not like the naked bind path syntax. I'm gonna have to go refresh my memory. I know we try to simplify that in WiX 4, so maybe we oversimplified it and we don't let you put the raw syntax there. All right, I'm gonna go look into that later. I don't want to dig into that right now. Okay. We've built our package, right? Good. We haven't installed it forever. Let's install it. Wait for Sandbox to spin up. All right, good. Okay,
and it did build it. Okay.
And it did build.
All right.
Everything looked good. All right. So we're going to go make sure that our sponsors.txt actually gets installed in the correct place first thing. Okay.
Right.
Bin debug built test package. This today, 823. That looks good. Install. There we go. Oh, we have UI. I forgot that we added UI with our lorem ipsum things. All right, cool. Yada, yada, yada. Doing the whole thing. Starting the service, installing the package. We look here. Ta-da! Belt test is installed and add remove programs. And behind us is, look, Deployment Dojo belt test. And there's our legal folder with our sponsors.txt in it. Yay! Right? Everything's great, right?
Yep.
Okay, so now let's do our magic trick that I love so much. We're going to open a command prompt right here. All right. And hey, look, there's our console app 1.exe. Uh-oh, I may have lied. And it worked. Okay. Why did this work? Because I didn't rebuild? Maybe because I didn't rebuild. See here? This is what I get for doing this demo. All right. We're going to shut down the sandbox screen and do it again.
Okay.
Because I think I failed to rebuild. All right, let's see. Make sure. Look at my package. All right, so I said lookin dot legal. I have my console app1.exe here. And if I look in my legal folder, in my legal folder, I have a console1 app1.exe. All right, I'm going to do a rebuild and we're going to try it again. Rebuild the whole thing. Do it all again, please. All right, rebuild all. What's taking all this time right now?
All the validation.
Validation. It's always validation. That's why running from the command line was so much faster. It's because it skips validation. All right, spin up our box again. We're almost there. Okay. Spin it up. No deployment text. Bin x86 debug ENUS build test package. Zoom. Oh, I really forgot. This is when the UI is annoying. It's like, hey, we have UI. All right, let's see if I got it right. Deployment Dojo test. There we go. And it still worked. Okay. Now I don't know why this is working for me this time. And there it is. So I'll tell you what I expected it to do. And because we're running out of time today, I'm going to have to go look at it. I expected it to find console app 1.exe inside the legal folder because it was searching those first.
Oh, I see. First, yeah, it should have found that first.
It should have found that first. It should have found console app 1.exe first and then sponsors.txt, which is not what we want, right? We would not want that to happen. So if we change this to legal and then we build again, can't find sponsors.txt as expected. So then I come in and I put the BindPath legal on it, and then I do a build, and now it works, right? Okay, cool. And now it built, and because we know it's getting sponsor.txt from that legal, and it will not be picking up that console one, although it wasn't picking up that one as a text file anyway. So that's something I'm gonna have to go dig into because that surprised me that it didn't, that it worked. So I have to dig into that. But we don't have quite the time limit. I wanted to kind of show you the name BindPaths first so that you could see them and we can talk about maybe a little bit more about how they work.
Okay, yeah, like kind of like why you
want them. Yeah, well,
yeah, that's what's kind of missing for me right now. I was like, okay,
our apps,
I get it.
Our apps aren't quite complicated enough to truly motivate it, but I didn't want to leave here without explaining why we had this name thing here. So I'm going to add that to the next one. I want to start here and we'll pick up again next time with that. So let's go ahead and get our changes in and then we'll go to sparring. So let's go do, while that's happening, I found the button, but there we go. There's the button all moved around. Okay, Dave, questions you might have while I finish making sure that I have everything committed. Did I close VS Code? I must have closed VS Code on this window.
Yeah, I'm kind of stuck at the end now with the stuff we're going to go over.
Now you're like, wait, why? Why would you want to ever do this? Is that the question?
Yeah, kind of, yes.
All right. I'm going to leave it out for now, and we'll pick up again, and we'll do that again. So we're not taking any of these other changes yet. Will I go and recreate and make sure that the thing fails, and also then kick off. All right. So Mr. S, I think. Mr. S asked if there are any plans to talk about creating and using merge modules. Maybe. I'm not, but maybe not, because merge modules are less good, not as good as WiX libs. And so the only time to really use merge modules is if you are going to share with other installation technologies out there that aren't WiX. And so we talked about a lot about WiX libs, right? I mean, we have one in our project now. We've talked about it a few times. And WiX libs are generally just all around better than merge modules, except when you have to send them to someone that's not using the WiX toolset for some reason. All right, quick check that these are the changes we want to make. All that looks good. Episode 45, BindPaths and that. Great pull request. So that's the answer. Mr. S is like, maybe we'll talk about merge modules, but I don't generally recommend them. So I don't know if we'll cover them here. Use WiX libs instead. I think that's really the answer. Martin says he wish, about heat. Well, we were going to talk about that. If you're migrating from, if you're migrating from, like if you're migrating from Install Shield, for example, being another one of those installation technologies that can consume merge modules, then you might build some stuff in WiX and then have to merge it back into install shield. That's probably one case where you do it. But merge modules they're nothing special. I mean, the WiX Toolset builds them per spec, which is honestly funny story. While we're waiting for this build to finish, David, I'm here.
Yeah.
WiX got its start because none of the installation technologies could build merge modules correctly. I was in the Office team back then, and we had other teams delivering software to Office. This is 2000. We'll call it the year 2000, literally the year 2000.
Right.
We had teams delivering software to Office. We needed it in merge modules to include all their setup and put it into that. And none of the tools on the market that everybody was saying, hey, use this, none of them built merge modules. So I'd go to these teams and say, hey, so I work at Office. I happen to work on this little tool called WiX. It can build merge modules perfectly. It will solve all these problems. You just have to write some XML. And that was when XML was brand new. It was like just a thing. And people were like, oh, really? And then they saw it. And then they saw text files. And they saw it get checked in their build process. And they were like, this is the best thing ever. And that's how it got started. is from those early days of building merge modules. But since then, I've learned merge modules have lots of overhead and complications that WiX libs don't have. And I actually tried building systems of using only merge modules to build up building pieces and stuff like that. In early days of WiX, back in WiX v1, I was like, yeah, build lots of merge modules and then group them all together. And in the end, it was too much, and got smarter and smarter about, we'll have WiX libs instead, and fragments, and all these concepts came from some of those early days. So merge modules are a standard MSI Windows SDK MSDN documented thing, and WiX can builds them perfectly to spec, I guarantee. And yeah, but we don't recommend them because they're not really great for use. I see people overuse merge modules within their own builds, and it's just a lot of overhead. But if you have to share with something like install shield, then yeah, I could see building one, and they're not terribly challenging like that. We're actually at FireGiant, Mr. S. Just so you know, FireGiant's my company. We do lots of different work, lots of work on WiX and work for people. We're doing a very large install shield migration, but it's not install shield MSI. It's actually install shield install script, which I didn't know anybody did anymore. Oh, it's an amazingly large and complex project. It's like going to be very excited to have them move to WiX. They're very excited too. So, all right, that's today. Cool. Hey, you got a little story at the end. And we have now BindPaths working in our MSBuild. As you can see, the build process committed, changed the change, or passed and committed the change. So we will be able to pick up here, try to figure out why I couldn't get the wrong console app 1 installed. We'll figure that, and then we'll try to motivate the name BindPaths next time. So, hey, spoiler alert, we're gonna be talking about name BindPaths next time. Sound good, David?
Sounds good.
Any other questions before we shut down here? You all good?
I think that's all I got.
Yeah, this is really just trying to bring all that command line stuff, bring it to MSBuild, and it really is very simple. And then, hey, Heatwave can even do it if you don't want to remember what the item name is. And then we'll go from there. So we'll be back next week. Till then, you guys take it easy. Keep coding. You know I am. Bye.
Yep.